Hi guys. Well, hopefully we are going to be able to follow that fantastic presentation by Vijay. I think that set us up nicely, and one of the things I think we can all agree is there's no more talk about Generation Z coming. They are here. They are already influencing our world. And what we've got today is the viewpoint from 4 great CEOs and how they're building their playbook to deal with this new and up-and-coming customer. So I'm going to just hand it to my panel for 20 seconds each to introduce themselves. Moses, if you want to kick off.
Yeah, for those that don't know The Edit London, we're a celebrity-backed global marketplace for limited sneakers, streetwear, and luxury. 4 stores, concession stores globally, including Harrods, partnered with the Chicago Bulls, and recently acquired by Brand Alley.
And Anne Summers is, for those of you who don't know, is 50 years old. We're a multi-channel brand. We specialise in lingerie and sexual well-being. We're female-founded, and our job is to continue to execute Jacqueline Gold's legacy of sexual empowerment for everybody.
Ash.
Jigsaw is a beautiful heritage brand, UK-based, was founded in 1970. And prides itself on quality fabrics, amazing design, and it's a small brand, mainly UK-based, but with international aspirations too.
The BABOR Beauty Group is a 3rd-generation family-owned company. We're among the top 100 beauty brands in the world, and we specialize in making clean, high-performance skincare. We do that for our namesake brand BABOR, but we also have a private label division that formulates and manufactures for some of the leading brands in the world. So we're really proud of that, and we do all of that as a trailblazer in sustainability, going far beyond carbon neutrality.
Thank you all. So we're going to dive right in, and we're going to talk to each of you about where you are on the journey. We know that this customer is going to affect everything that we do in the future, but where are you on that journey? So Maria, I'd love to just give you a quick intro there, and then maybe we can go to Moses to find out where you are on this journey.
Yeah, sure. So my core customer is aged 25 to 35, so we're kind of at the upper end of the older Gen Zs, if you like, but we also operate with a number of third parties. ASOS is one of our biggest, and we know from them that we are resonating really strong with their younger customer, aged 18 to 24. So I'd say that we are transitioning in, and as obviously that cohort matures, they'll become more and more important to us.
But it's an important consideration for you.
Definitely.
Moses.
I mean, this subject is perfect for what we do. You know, our product is, a Travis Scott, a Jordan, a Hermes Birkin bag. So, which is cannon fodder for everything that goes on social media. So actually, since inception, when I founded the business in January 2020, it was really about, we'll let the product be beautifully curated, but of course, really how we drive the culture and community around this product. So really, it was about elevating the brand.
Yeah, so you've always been there.
Yeah, I would suggest I'm our best customer, actually, so.
Okay. I love that. Yeah. Okay, Hash.
I think one of the interesting perspectives on, just before I dive into where Jigsaw are on the journey, is there is a marked difference. We all talk about Gen Z as one bucket of cohort customers, but actually there are really big global differences around this. And I think from a UK and US perspective, the outcome for Gen Z is slightly different than those from emerging economies. Yeah. So, in the UK and US, they actually feel the generation before them has kind of messed up the world a bit. And whether that be on sustainability, whether that be on the economy, whether they can't access to buy a house themselves, and we've made it all too expensive for them. So I think it is quite different to where in an emerging economy, the generation is much more optimistic. And I think that is rooted in the fact that most generations always like to do better than what their parents have done. And in the UK and US, that is less the case. So, but from a UK perspective, because our business is more UK, I think our starting point is slightly different because this is an anxious generation and they don't have the optimism that some of the emerging economies have. And so therefore connecting with them is slightly different. And our strategy is we've got to be ready for this generation of customers without a shadow of a doubt. But we are a somewhat older brand. But obviously, if we just get old with our customers, we too will die when they too say goodbye, which we don't want to do. So it is about staying modern and relevant. But what is a total USP for the brand is its heritage is in craft and creativity and individuality and in truth. And they are our brand values. And so as a result, there is a huge connection point with the generation because of what we stand for. So for us, it's about the narrative, telling the stories, being on the channels that they're on. And we're dipping our toe in some of it when it comes to TikTok. I think on Instagram we do it very well, but TikTok is a different beast and different content.
Let's dive into that in a minute. But Tim, again, where's the preparation of BABOR in terms of bringing in this new customer? Are they already in the business? How are you gearing yourself?
So, as I mentioned, we're third generation family owned, and we were obviously started with the BABOR brand. So we're 70 years young next year. And that brings some challenges as it relates to Gen Z. We under-index today. We're just under 10% of our consumers are Gen Z. And so we know that we have a lot of work to do, and we did a lot of groundwork and foundational work in the last 2 years, just working on rebranding and kind of making the brand more relevant for the Gen Z consumer. And then in terms of marketing, we really went into shifting the focus of our investment and allocation. We just recently started a TikTok first strategy, which is let's say it's challenging for a brand that could alienate its main consumer base. So these are some of the things that we're doing. Obviously, there's more to it. There's products that are being developed specifically
If I can stay with you, actually, Tim, can I ask you about that product-led initiatives? Products that directly speak to this age group. How important is it to sort of build something that belongs to this audience? Obviously, skincare is highly personal, so how have you adapted to that?
Yeah, for me, this is kind of easy because it's really the most important thing in skincare is to put the right product on the right skin. And obviously, this generation has different skin needs than other generations do. And we see that already today in our overall portfolio. But we feel that some of the values and interests of the generation as authenticity, sustainability, and things like that are really important. So we developed a clean cosmeceutical line about 5 years back to address this generation.
Okay, interesting. Are they reacting to it?
Yeah, it's one of our most dynamic, fastest growing lines.
Excellent, okay. So the product strategy, I'm now going to come on to Moses to talk about my parents' brand versus my brand and how that plays, or don't they care?
I would say for us, they don't really care.
Right.
I mean, you're talking about an audience that are arguably the most outspoken at the moment. They'll say what they think and they'll throw it straight on TikTok. So actually it's about how do you forge deep relationships with your audience and actually provide, for us, we think about how you, I guess the phrase is retail-tainment. How do you provide money but can't buy experiences? And so just to give you an example, in Harrods last year, we brought 100 of the rarest sneakers, including a Travis Scott Friends and Family. This is like a £40,000-50,000 pair, but actually it gave our audience the opportunity to see shoes that you'll just never see before. And I think actually, Gary, you turned up with your daughter, who was quite keen to buy something. So if somebody can twist his arm, we've got Ray on standby ready to take payment.
Perfect. So, Maria, do you experience this? My parents' brand, my mother's brand versus my brand?
Well, it's actually really quite interesting for us. So, being 50 years old, we've got a huge heritage. I mean, in the UK, we've got off-the-charts awareness. I think 87% of the population know who Ann Summers is. And I always think that's a bit of a double-edged sword because a lot of those consumers have got a very outdated perception of us, and actually it's the older consumer that's the problem for us. So they have this old-fashioned view of what we stand for, but the way we talk to Gen Z is they actually see us as a really young, modern and relevant brand, so we resonate really strongly with them because it's all about how you talk to them.
Do you actually start to build products specifically for this demographic?
No, we don't, because our products is all about confidence. It's all about an attitude as opposed to an age. And so we don't do specific products. It is, as I said, how you put those products in front of a consumer.
and getting them to them in the right place.
Yeah.
Okay, and you know, Hash, moving on to you, we're talking about this whole mix of legacy brand versus my parents' brand. You've sort of spoken to this as well, but obviously there's nuances that are so important in your business about storytelling, about mindfulness, about circularity. All of these are kind of keywords that are coming up with this generation. I think Jigsaw embodies a lot of these elements.
I think that's right, and I think that is, you know, one of the sort of privileged and unique positions for Jigsaw to capitalize on, actually, is it's a brand which has always been rooted in style and truth, and it's always done things a bit differently, and it's pushed against the grain, but not just for controversy's sake. So it, as a brand premise, actually plays to this audience incredibly well. I think the art of it, and for the marketeers to understand, is what is the motivation of this generation.
Yeah.
And actually, if you can play to that in an authentic way, and it is a truth, then actually the connection is a very simple connection to make. And I think that is, you know, any challenge for a brand which is, you know, of age, and we were born in 1970. That is, the staying relevance is the challenge for any brand, regardless of what the next generation is about, and all brands need to do that anyway. I think the sophistication, just because of the platforms which are available, and this generation is digitally, you know, they're born in the digital, yeah, absolutely. I think that is probably the conundrum of connection to be sorted.
Okay, I'm going to speak to you all now as employers, because the one thing about Generation Z as well is you're going to hire them. And how that plays in your business, obviously they bring a different perspective. They make choices about where they want to work. So we need to recognize this consumer not only as a consumer, but as members of our teams. And I know that Apparel Group spoke to this morning, and it's been a key theme through everything that comes on. Tim, do you want to kick us off on this point?
Sure, we're talking about recruitment, right? It's hard to hear. So for us, we started really to bring in that generation specifically for marketing, because that's obviously important to have digital native teams that understand the media and know what to do with it. But we also have programs of vocational training where we offer a number of positions each year and really train across different functions in the company. We've just finished a Great Place to Work analysis or survey, and we see that the Gen Z is a generation that likes to work for our group, so we're fortunate about that. And we want to roll out and intensify our efforts to bring in the younger generation.
Maria, where do you stand on?
So we've got a huge amount of Gen Zs in our business. So I think that, we've got 53% of our colleagues are between 18 and 27.
Okay.
I think that's about a national average is about 29%. So we hugely over-index, obviously in certain functions, so definitely in our social functions, but buying and merchandising, stores actually as well, tech, digital. But I think, to your point, they will only work for you as a brand if your values resonate with them.
Exactly.
And I think a really, really important point for this generation is that they want to be heard. They want to give their opinion, and they want to be heard, and we definitely give them a platform for that.
Yeah.
That's a really good point, actually. So one of the things that we do at the Edit London are inspiration sessions, which actually mean the Gen Zs will sit there and tell us older folk what we should be doing, what product we should be putting on the platform, and actually off the back of that was how we then partnered with the Chicago Bulls. So
is that right?
Yeah.
So it really affected decisions you were making on a corporate level?
Absolutely.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're all inviting, I mean, obviously right behind Gen Z is alphas. They're coming on thick and fast as well. So it's opening your doors to all of those people, but making a business they want to be proud of as well, because they're making their choices. I want to move to now the role of marketing and the role of partnerships, and whether you see that as being as relevant. Obviously, it's a key part of your business, Moses, is building that excitement.
Absolutely.
Do you want to speak to us about what partnerships look like?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, excuse me, is content is pure opportunistic gold, right? And so we'll get on to partnerships, but actually when you look at
Content is king.
Content is key. Product, for example, how can we drive the authentication piece? You know, we verify every product that comes through Edit London HQ.
Yeah.
Great opportunity to actually show the audience behind the scenes. And actually from a leadership point of view, that behind the scenes content around actually bringing people on the journey with you. And again, just building that culture and community.
So you allow them behind the curtain.
Absolutely, which then brings me on to the partnerships piece and why it's important, and I'll kind of get there in a roundabout way. But of course, we partnered with, you know, the NBA to the Bulls and NFL teams, and actually, that kind of brought about real kind of trust and an authentic voice. And again, we'll bring people behind the scenes. But a great example, so one of our investors is a chap called Ollie Watkins. If there's any, you know, soccer fans here today, you know, second highest scorer in the Premier League. Now, he, of course, is going to the Euros in the summer. What does that mean for us? Well, actually, it's a great opportunity to bring our audience behind the scenes. What's it like to be in the England camp with the Edit London? And so it's just providing that level of access, leverage the audiences, and then allow your audience and, you know, to affect the culture and really build the community around that.
Well, I think that takes an open-mindedness of leadership to allow all those things to percolate through your business as well. That's quite brave in terms of lifting the curtain, allowing people to influence your business from the inside. Maria, what do you think?
In terms of partnerships, they're actually a really important part of our business for probably quite different reasons to you, Moses. So Ann Summers is classified as an adult brand, and that can cause us a huge amount of problems. We get blocked by Meta, we get blocked by Google. Our third-party partners don't experience that, so actually we use them to bring new customers to us, and they expose us to a wider audience, and it's a good entry point into our brand. So really, we use it as an acquisition point of view. And I don't know if you saw recently, pre-Valentine's, we partnered with Deliveroo, and it went viral. It was one of the most talked about things. It was incredible.
And Summers on Deliveroo.
Yeah.
Love that. Absolutely brilliant, brilliant. Hash, do you want to add to this conversation?
I think, you know, I think it's important. I also think, you know, it's really important that all brands don't follow the same strategy to reach the same audience, because there is no cut-through by definition. And, you know, and we have a brand heritage and a brand story to tell, which through craft and the design process and so on will, I think, resonate. So we do collaborations. We've recently done with Roxanda. We've got another part 2 coming out in May. So yes, we do it. But I think, again, with the target audience we're talking about, they need to also understand but why. So it has to have a huge amount of relevance.
And how do you feel about Moses saying, lift the curtain, allow, you know, them to go behind the scenes, create content that allows them access all areas? Are you ready for that as a business?
The simple answer I would say is no. In terms of what I think of him doing it, I'll tell you that when we're off stage.
Go easy,
Okay, Tim, what's the partnership strategy in the beauty world?
Yeah, for us, we partner on several levels. I think in terms of brand partnerships, it's really important for us, especially to reach a new audience and new generations. So we've just recently done a partnership with a German artist that's kind of speaking to the generation, and we've launched a limited edition with and for him at Art Basel in Miami just last December. So that was fantastic, both for content as for kind of synergy of brand. And then we partner with, let's say, individual brands on a global scale, because we have about 100,000 experts in skincare. So those are dermatologists, surgeons, estheticians, and influencers that we partner with, really to promote the brand or speak to the brand and how we can transform the generation's skin. And the one thing that we know is that when they have a product that works, they're willing to spend on it. And so we have a solution.
And they tell you about it. They go online and they explain how much they love it.
Yeah, and so once you have a solution, I think there's a natural fit. And so these are kind of the ways we partner.
Yeah, I think that's one of obviously the biggest things that we're all dealing with is this two-way communication now. Yeah. It's not just brands putting things out there, it's being prepared for the conversation. And the community, you spoke to community as well.
Right, it's Gen Z want to know who they're buying from. And so actually allowing them that peek behind the curtain, I guess, you know, provides that platform. But again, if they're now thinking as an extension of your brand, well, they turn into transactors, from transactors to advocates, from advocates to raving fans, and that's exactly what we're trying to do.
Yeah, that's great.
So there's method to the madness.
There's method to the madness, absolutely. So I have to ask you all, what does the role of sustainability and diversity mean for this generation and for you as businesses? Maybe Tim, you could start us off here. You've talked about clean beauty. Is this something they're actively looking for? Are they looking for that transparency?
That's certainly the generation where it's most important, or that it's most important to. So we see a lot of that, especially in our social listening and in our community management. So we see that that's something that they care about. And we speak about authenticity and about the values, right? And we as a company, we've been really focusing on sustainability for years. So we've launched a refillable jar in 1990, and obviously nobody was ready for it, and it was a big flop. I love that example because
timing is everything, isn't it?
Because it's, you know, we just tried things, and we tell a story about the sustainability of the company, which is very important and resonates, and then obviously most of our products are formulated clean. We keep increasing our clean standards, and we formulate something extremely clean and extremely transparent and authentic for that audience, and we really see that that's working.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as we talked about when we were off stage, I mean, Jigsaw has been doing sustainability and making right choices for a very, very long time, because it's a very responsible business and believes in its craft. I think, particularly from a UK perspective, I think one of the travesties which are happening at the moment, and particularly after some of the rulings from the Commission in the UK, is we're now getting into a point, because of fear of greenwashing accidentally, that actually brands are not being proud of the work that they're doing. So I think we've kind of, I understand why we did it, because we don't want people making false claims, but on the other hand, we've also now got this sort of dichotomy of brands being a little bit worried if they're over-egging it. And I think that will set us back a little bit before we go forward, which is very unfortunate, particularly when we're talking about Gen Z, because actually they really want to know. I think, again, what is inherent in Jigsaw is absolutely making responsible and right decisions, and we're known for it. And it's not a case of if you know, you know, but it's, you know, I don't see us running green campaigns. I see us creating beautiful product, which has been responsibly sourced with the right decisions made all the way through the decision-making process. And I think if you can operate on that high level of authenticity with this generation, they understand that.
And I think sustainability often gets muddled up with the whole kind of inclusivity piece as well. I know this is really important to Maria, but how do you cope with that in your business? Because this generation want to know you're inclusive.
They do, and it's something that we really champion. We're all about body positivity, and that's kind of expressed throughout the business. So, for instance, we stock bra sizes from a 38 to a 44H. So we cover pretty much everybody, but also it's represented in the squad that we feature in our campaign and content, very, very diverse from a size, ethnicity and gender point of view, and even through to our store mannequins, which again are different sizes, different shapes and different skin tones.
And colours and cultural backgrounds, as well. I guess for you as well, as part of your marketing as well, you're bringing in all sorts of diverse elements into the business.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, sneakers is our hero product, and of course, it is a culture that's
kind of unites the world, though, a sneaker, doesn't it?
Right.
Or divides it. And
it's the most amazing thing when you see, you know, a 25-year-old kid wearing a pair of Jordans, and then you see, you know, their dad, you know, doing exactly the same, and it's an amazing thing to see. And actually, when you're inclusively part of that community, it actually happens at street level. Very frequently, if you go to places like New York or LA, people will literally point out what you're wearing on your feet. Gives you that warm, fuzzy feeling, and then you move on for the rest of your day. It's amazing.
And what are the social channels that you are looking at, backing at? You know, is it a YouTube? Is it an Instagram? Is it a TikTok? Where are you on this journey, Moses?
I mean, all of the above.
All of the above. Tick, tick, tick. Yeah.
I mean, there needs to be a robust social strategy in place for all of the key platforms. I mean, for us, actually, Instagram and TikTok are arguably our two biggest levers.
Yeah.
But again, now in 2024, we'll put more focus into YouTube. You know,
Okay.
even LinkedIn as a platform.
That
you know.
plays to the content point that you said, which is great content.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And again, it's about education. It's about being behind the scenes. It's about how you drive authenticity. It's about how you engage with the team. You know, and that's kind of the role that we have to play as a thought leader in the market.
Yeah. Hash?
I think for us, we are on Instagram, and that is probably where we do most well. Some might view that as a bit traditional. But actually, I always find it quite interesting when you look at the posts of when we feature people from our office and when they're trying things on, actually those resonate and get higher engagement. And when you look through people who've commented, you can see that it is a younger generation you're actually reaching at that point.
And they're talking back to you.
And they're talking back, and you know, and also, but the important thing with that is they demand and warrant and rightly deserve a reply, and so it has to be a two-way engagement piece.
Yeah.
So I think that is really, really important. YouTube, yes, and we are preparing. And it does require organisation readjustment, particularly around content creation for TikTok. And you know, to do that badly is worse than not doing it at all, in my view.
Have any of you utilised AI in your business? Have any of you started to look at AI to support this journey? Tim?
I mean, we're certainly working with AI. We've been launching, or we launched an AI-based skin analysis tool that's supposed to marry offline and online seamlessly and bring the expertise of our estheticians and dermatologists to the digital world. So that's an AI-based analysis tool that's on your phone, on your computer, or wherever. And it features also a diary that allows you to set goals and track your progress, and all of that's AI-based. We obviously have multiple AI initiatives, but this is maybe the most relevant for this generation.
I also think that with AI, there's levels of, you know, I think, again, coming back to Gen Z, if there's recommendation tools and it's personalized content, all that, they get that.
Yeah.
You know, what we're seeing with this generation is that bricks and mortar is becoming really important to them, and that authentic service and so on. And so I think it's a real balance which needs to be achieved on this.
Yeah.
And, you know, we see in our stores, when we hold events, we've got the Jigsaw Art Foundation where we sponsor young and up-and-coming artists. When we bring that together in a physical space, actually there is huge, huge connection.
Again, speaking to this experiential. But the interesting thing about where we're going is it allows consumers to come into your brand through a different door. So that actually you're creating a unique experience for maybe that slightly older age group, the younger age group. They can actually come in through a slightly different door. Maria, have you found any of the social channels helps you more than others?
Yeah, I mean, our major ones are TikTok and Instagram, but I think the key thing about using social channels, you've got to be really authentic. This generation can see through immediately if you're not. To help us with that, we use influencers, because we find that influencers really know how to talk to their audiences, and getting around my blocking issues, it also helps me kind of reach a wider audience. But also we are big fans of user-generated content. That's real people endorsing what you do in your products. So that's really key to us.
You must find that, Moses, all the time. You know, when the customer speaks back to you, it's worth volumes.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's a really simple format, but a lot of people think you need this beautiful long-form, you know, beautifully produced content. Actually, sometimes if you just take a 3-second video and throw it up, that's the stuff that performs the best.
It's got an honesty about it.
Right, as you said, authenticity, and it's raw, and it just gets to the core of what it is. Actually, one of the biggest things that sometimes we do on our Instagram stories is, what are you wearing on your feet today? And people just take a photo of their feet and send it to us and tag, and it's as simple as that.
Simple is very, very strong, as we know, very often. So that's a great insight. And I'm sort of conscious of the time. I wanted to quickly touch on the importance of physical retail, because we've been a lot in the digital space, but the influence of physical retail absolutely is part of this journey. I'm going to go to Maria first, but how have you adopted it, you know, any kind of new evolution strategies, again, in physical?
So I wouldn't say there's any evolution strategies. Experience is really important. So we've got 90 stores. Stores are always going to be a really important part of our proposition. we actually see it as being a bit of a superpower for us because there's nobody on the high street doing what we do.
Yeah.
And it's a place that we find consumers come to us because we are the authority on what we do, and they want that expert advice. So you can't always get that, not to the same degree in digital channels. So yeah, it's really important, but we need to evolve. And I think the key thing is really having an omni-channel experience so that the brand touch points are consistent wherever a customer shops with you.
Hash, what's the role of the mall, the shopping mall, these days?
The role of?
The shopping mall, the department, you know.
So we're not particularly a shopping mall brand. In fact, we've got, a lot of London stores, but even then, our flagship is on the King's Road. It's not going to be in a shopping centre. And then we're in a lot of sort of small market towns around the UK with 50 stores. So actually, with that locale feel comes an authenticity around service, proposition, and actually the look and feel of the store as well. Our stores are well designed and well executed. And that is the root of the brand. So I joined the business in November, and one of the things I was really struck about when I visited all the stores, I've got 10 more to go, but when I visited all the stores, was actually the diversity of age of our store colleagues, and that really, really also helps with the actual service proposition. And this generation is looking for those human interactions, or enjoys them on a take it or leave it basis that they choose. But nonetheless, I think that the store going forward, we would have been at this conference 5 years ago, 6 years ago, saying it's all about digital. Never has the store become more important.
Absolutely.
As an absolute sort of physical manifestation of your brand.
Yeah.
So, and also, no one goes past a bad store and goes, I must visit that website. So, you have to execute wherever you are, in a really authentic, perfect way.
And you're owning the customer at that point, because you're actually having that human interaction with them. Moses, Tim, you maybe have looked at a pop-up strategy. I'm not sure. Obviously, you've got locations. How have you brought it to life?
So for us, physical retail is a mix of our own flagships and then obviously lots of independent business owners that we work with because we're a professional brand. And for us, the experience of a treatment is very important, and actually Gen Z is over-indexing on treatments because they just have needs, acne-based, etc. That makes them come early and more often than our average.
So it's highly personalized interaction.
So for us, we need some scale in actual physical experience. And so this is, we have a model that's flagships, kind of franchise system, and then independent partners. In terms of, you were asking about flagship pop-ups, we enter new markets traditionally with some pop-ups that are a bit more significant in space.
Do you want to finish on this point, Moses? Because I know how important.
Yeah, so we've got 4 concession stores that range from here through to Saudi Arabia, and actually there's still a need and want to look at the product, feel the product, try on the product, but actually we very much view them as activation hubs. How do we engage with the customer? And again, my earlier point about this money can't buy experiences, I'm going to give you a very quick example. Soccer player called Erling Haaland has 3 golden boots. He gave us one of the boots, put it in the trophy cabinet in Harrods, and thought, well, how do we bring this to life? So he flew a drone in Harrods to take this amazing content.
Amazing.
Really simple activation. You could take a selfie with the boots, tag Erling, tag us, with the opportunity to win 2 tickets to a Manchester City game. Really, really simple. But again, blew up on social. So that's a way of engaging, bringing footfall to store, and then obviously driving sales, of course.
Awesome. Well, we're in our last couple of minutes, so I'm inviting you all now to talk to us about what's next, what the future holds. How do you want to wind up today in terms of where you're going? Would you like to lead on this?
I think we know the answer now. No, look, it's about, again, just building real trust and authenticity.
Building trust. I think that is a really important moniker.
Trust, transparency, and so forth.
For us, it's about really knowing our customer to make sure we remain relevant and optimizing that omni-channel experience.
Yeah.
I'll give you an interesting fact. In the US, 6,000 CEOs are actually now from Gen Z, and 1,000 politicians are from Gen Z. So they aren't coming, they have arrived. and they are changing the shape of society for the better, actually. And I think that authenticity and truth is something that we should all be hugely mindful
I
of.
love that word, trust and truth and everything else. And Tim?
We're going to be focusing on two things. One is really driving our sustainability strategy forward and really improving recyclability and sustainability of packaging. And the next piece is really to create a robust infrastructure on the IT side. We're launching a full new tech stack from marketing automation, golden customer platform, etc., a whole new web shop, because we need to be ready to harness the data that we're collecting. And as everything's growing fast, we talked about AI.
Yeah.
This is a really big initiative for us.
Well, I have to say thank you, Tim, Hash, Maria, and Moses, for this great conversation. I hope you could all hear us today. 4 very different playbooks, and we shall check in with you in the next 18 months and see how it's all going. But thank you for joining us at the Retail Summit.
Thanks, man.